AMTV, hard hitting and in your face. This is the islandproject.com. And the Federal Reserve, the central bank, capitulates, ladies and gentlemen. This is your moment to get super rich in a hyperinflationary pump. And the Federal Reserve, the central bank, Jerome Powell, in this article is setting the stage for it. It's pretty darn hilarious. Like and share this, guys, because we know what they're going to do next. It's the only thing that they've ever done. Print fake currency from nothing, hyper pump our markets into new all-time highs, super bubbles that later collapse, then bail themselves out and hyper pump it once again. So this is great, great news. The Federal Reserve, this is from Market Watch. The title of this article says, the biggest Fed rate hike in 40 years. And guess how big and gargantuan allegedly this rate hike is, guys? 75 to 100 basis points. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious, ladies and gentlemen. That'll still keep the Federal Reserve funds rate at 4% or less, even with 100 basis points. Again, this is all an illusion. It's all fake so that they can sell you on the phony idea that the Federal Reserve is going to do something when they're not. The only thing they're going to do is pump. So position yourself now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, position yourself now. Expect a full hyperinflation event to continue just like it's continued over the last 3 years. Housing tripled, energy skyrocketing, gasoline through the roof, food prices soaring, inflation across cities in the United States, sanctions, energy freezes. Expect more of it because this is the plan. There is no other alternative that the central bank or Federal Reserve has but to reset the system. And it's exactly what they're going to do now. So let's talk about these bullish headwinds because we also have a huge announcement. Ethereum is in the process of merging from a proof of work to a proof of staking system as we speak today. This is happening right now. And this is going to cut their emissions, their energy emissions, by some 99%. What is this going to do? It's going to stoke the fire of institutional investment. Now, I've already warned you guys about this. And of course, you're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry on Wall Street say that they're now buying Ethereum because they care about the planet and all these kinds of things. But it's really just an excuse for them now to institutionally pour billions and billions of dollars into Vitalik Buterin's creation, Ethereum, moving from proof of work to proof of stake. These are massive bullish headwinds. And in my opinion, in the coming weeks, we're going to get a big pump from Ethereum. For those of you who don't know what Ethereum is, some of you don't, some of you are still beginners. Ethereum, of course, is a proof of contract system, proof of smart contract system, which allows you basically to bypass all the traditional industry and infrastructure currently placed in the United States today. This is why the whole economy is about to shift. There's no need for middlemen or middle women anymore. This affects everything from housing to real estate to insurance. I mean, literally every industry that you can think of. Even education will be impacted by smart contracts and principally Ethereum and its network. So this is a massive, massive event. And also what it's going to do is cut down on a lot of the supply issuance of Ethereum. And it's also forcing stakeholders to hold at least for the next 6 to 12 months. So it's going to cut down on the volume of issuance and encourage people to actually stake longer on a cleaner system, which has 99% less emissions than its proof of work model. This is in contrast, of course, to Bitcoin, the proof of basically gold standard equivalent, and like the current gold as is in the blockchain space. Also want to welcome, we've got 3 new founders that I've just approved to the Island Project. I wanted to read this out by name. Just got a message here from my team earlier this morning. Islandproject.com. 3 new founders. Elizabeth Lehner just joined. God bless you. So happy to have you as a part of what we're doing. Also, Matthew Baxter just joined, became a founder of Islandproject.com today. And also Rob Eastcott just joined as well. I want to mention those 3 names, just joined Island Project. What we're doing is amazing. We just hit new funding benchmarks yesterday, and I've got more people coming in today and all of this week. So you guys are the freedom fighters, and I love you guys so much. I'm so humbled to be working with all of you, and thank you for everything that you do, helping us build this amazing machine and the #1 blockchain in the world that's tokenizing real estate in the world, not just here in Maui, Oahu, beautiful islands of Hawaii, and just building better communities and better systems. I mean, the big problem today, ladies and gentlemen, is the hyperinflation that the Federal Reserve has created. In fact, they're the principal problem in basically impacting prices and the series of events that have transpired in the United States over the last several decades. Again, it was the central bank head and the Federal Reserve that kept interest rates at 0% forever. It's the central bank printing currency from nothing. It's the central bank issuing all these bailouts to zombified banks like in 2008-09. They're the ones that issued the PPP loans. They're the ones, along with our politicians, that closed everything down over the last 3 years. And this is what is creating this huge disruption, which is now transferring the wealth away from the middle class and only enriching the same people that actually caused the initial problem. So this is going to continue, but my point here is the Fed is bluffing. And we knew this from the start. I told you guys this from the start. The Fed is absolutely bluffing. The only thing they can do is pump. I'm 41 years old, and there's only one truth that I've identified in 41 years. The Federal Reserve will always print money, they will always hyperinflate, and they will always bail themselves out and pump. That's all they do, because they can't crush their own backs. So understand this truth. This is why they say don't fight the Fed. Because the Fed can do whatever it wants. It creates all the new rules. They're creating the new system and the new rules, of course, for CBDCs, digital equivalent currencies like the US dollar digital equivalent, central bank digital currency, which will be announced very, very soon. So all of this is heating up right now. And it's a massive pivot point, in my opinion, to pivot, leverage, and profit into it. Again, be smarter than the plan. Understand what these people are going to do. Understand how simple it is to realize that they have no other options. The Federal Reserve can't raise rates materially or they'd collapse the entire economy. So they're not going to do that. They're going to fake raise, pretend to raise, still rates will be under 4%. They can't raise too high or they'll collapse the credit markets, or they won't be able to pay their interest payment debt that they can never pay back anyways, but they won't even be able to meet the interest payments. So basically, they've been spending like a drunken sailor for decades, and because they've created all this chaos in our economy and domestic economy, there's no turning back. So there's nothing that the central bank can do. This is all an illusion. It's all media propaganda to pretend that Jerome Powell somehow, who's controlled, is going to be really tough and stern on those interest rates. No, he's not. No, he's not. The whole economy, the whole global economy is going through a manufactured, pre-planned reset into the new system. And it's all culminating here in September. This is what I was telling you guys yesterday out there on the water. You know, October 1st is a big day, I believe, not just psychologically, but as we end this cycle of the 7-year Shemitah cycle and push in to the new system. This is all about establishing a new system. I mean, what do you think they were doing over the last few years, ladies and gentlemen? They're just logistically planning and reorganizing society. All the food resources, populations, countries, borders, economies, currencies, debt. This is all a reorganization plan and, in their own words, a reset into the new system. So honestly, you guys, you want to hold on to any assets you can and get your hands on any real assets that you can. I think that we will see in the mainland United States a little bit of a pullback when it comes to housing and like middle class homes, but not in the best locations in the world, because all the smart money and the very wealthy, number one, don't use mortgages at all. Okay, all the best properties in the world, they're cash. Okay, so the rich aren't, taking out a 30-year mortgage to buy a $6, $9, $10 million home. No, they're paying cash for it. So the interest rate hikes don't affect them at all. And, that's just like one specific slice of truth. And this is what I see going on in Maui, especially because, again, Maui's Malibu. It's the new Maui Boo. There was never a bad time in the history of the world to buy Malibu beachfront, just like there's not a bad time in the history of the world to ever buy Maui. Prices are just going to continue to go up for the rest of your life, just like they always have. But middle America, that depends on credit, that depends on the average working family, that depends on mortgages and financing, and now certain companies like Citibank are now issuing 0% down loans again, which is only going to help, collapse the credit markets once again. Those are the parts of the markets that are going to be affected. But I believe all this is a bluff. I don't think, and this was my basically consensus even months ago, is that what people weren't saying is you can't just turn off the spigot of inflation overnight. You can't just turn that off. They've been printing forever. They print more currency into circulation over the last 3 years than they ever have in the history of the world. So it's going to take years for that to unravel, and it can't unravel. That's the whole thing. When you have a fractional reserve banking system based on debt with no liquidity at the banks, where they don't actually have physical reserves of cash, when they've been stress tested down to 5% or less on total reserves, what you have is a Ponzi scheme and an upside down pyramid that's not going to work. So what are the elites doing? What are the wealthy doing? Pouring their hard assets into their money, their fiat money, into real assets that actually hold value. And that's going to continue. It's not going to stop. So this is actually a huge boom, in my opinion, to the cryptocurrency markets, because all boats will rise along with Ethereum's pump in the coming days, weeks, and months. Now, of course, we know where Ethereum came from. Vitalik Buterin was gifted a 100,000 Peter Thiel grant early on before he ever wrote the code for ETH. A lot of people don't know this. You know, people will tell me things like, Christopher, well, they're not going to allow Bitcoin and Ethereum. What are you talking about? They are Bitcoin and Ethereum. The establishment, the new system is Bitcoin and Ethereum. The new system is blockchain technology. They created it. It's all been open source from the get-go. And so now they're going to turn Ethereum green so that they can pump it even further. And then play into the whole sustainability concept. This will move more institutional money and hedge funds so that they can feel good. It's not about money for them, guys. Yeah, right. It's all about the planet. As if all these big oil companies that have been burning emissions for decades now suddenly care, or Wall Street suddenly cares about the weather. No, they don't. Okay, this is all about hardcore making Ethereum in terms of ETH and basically moving in and merging into these new asset classes. Also, I'm starting to see in the news, just like I've been telling you, that now that we're getting all this propaganda out of Ukraine, expect things to actually escalate. Putin's more likely to use unconventional tools in that war than he ever has before. But they're just teeing him up for this. The Pope, Xi, the Premier of China, and also Putin all just met in Kazakhstan just yesterday, and they're there for the next couple of days. They're all planning for the future events. Again, America and the westernized world is collapsing while the East is rising. The BRICS nations are taking over. China is the dominant new economy. Okay, they even have a larger navy than the United States of America. They've got more people. And so, I mean, this is an ancient empire that's been around thousands and thousands of years. America's only been around a couple hundred years, and it's already basically failed. So they're resetting the system into the new currency framework, whether or not we like it or not. You know, for example, I follow a lot of billionaires like Ray Dalio, very famous hedge fund manager, Bridgewater Associates. He says the same thing. He's already pivoted to Asia. He's been warning of capital controls, which means you might not be able to move your money out of the banks, that we could have a bail-in scenario or a bailout scenario at the largest financial institutions, or you just can't move your money outside of the system and internationalize it, which I believe is what's going to happen. So all of these are just hardcore fundamental truths of what we're currently dealing with. Inflation isn't going to stop. They can't turn off that spigot. So trust the plan. In fact, we should love Jerome Powell for pumping the whole market and manipulating it further. Just plan on them manipulating everything just like they always do, but make money, right? Get rich in the disruption. Get rich in the chaos. Realize the whole thing, the whole system, Wall Street's one big scam. And all we can count on is for them to pump even more. It's not that housing is really rising, it's that the dollar's collapsing and smart money's in the real asset that can stay with actual inflation. That's all that's happening, ladies and gentlemen. So we had a huge slide yesterday in the Dow, 1,250 points. That was all manufactured as well. The central bank buys S&P future contracts on the stock exchanges. They can manipulate everything. Like I've said this before, they could print $10 trillion today and flush it all into stocks if they wanted. The money doesn't mean anything. They can print as much as they want. They could lower interest rate, hike interest rates. Again, the primary goal of the Federal Reserve, supposedly, which has never been audited, we don't vote for. These people are in power. We don't even know why. It's kind of like the King Charles over out in England. No one voted for him. He just gets in. No one even asks any questions. Same thing with the privately owned central bank. That's all it is. It's not public. You don't vote on it. You don't have a say. The Federal Reserve chairman and chairwoman is appointed by the president. So there is no vote. This is what you need to understand. And they do whatever they want. And all of them are like Goldman Sachs lackeys going through the revolving door back and forth, Wall Street, central bank, Federal Reserve, and back and forth. That's how it works. So you got to understand this. But what people are missing, here's my point of today's video. What people are missing are two things. Inflation can't stop. The Federal Reserve is lying. They're bluffing. They're going to probably raise 100 basis points and then allow the markets to keep pumping. They can't go any further. This is not the years of Paul Volcker where they're going to really materially raise interest rates. They can't. What they're going to do this time is reset the system into the new paradigm. Break the old system intentionally. Blame it on an outside condition or force. Like, hey, the last couple of years, that wasn't their fault. It just happened on a whim. Bullcrap. Bullcrap. This is all engineered and pre-planned for a reason. Just like 2008 and 09 was. Just like Bush told you to go max out your credit cards in 2001. That led to that bubble and collapse. Just like we're in a bubble now. But they're going to keep stoking this fire of massive, massive hyperinflation so that they can introduce universal basic income and socialize all of America and permanently bankrupt us here in the United States. That's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this is the hardcore truth. And they're very good at it. They're highly manipulative. They're huge propagandists. They got control of all the spigots of media. They've got everybody. I mean, it's so bad in the United States that the MyPillow guy is being raided by the 3-letter alphabet agencies while he's going through a Hardee's drive-thru. I mean, this is like living in the collapse of the USSR. It couldn't get any worse. Even Tucker Carlson was saying this the other night on Fox News, which I agree with. He's like one of the last few voices that's still allowed to speak. But these are worst case scenarios, worst conditions, and it's only going to do what? Bankrupt the middle class, bankrupt America, transfer and reset into the new system so they can socialize everything and create a feudal society where they've extracted all of the real assets, wealth, and resources to themselves, and then they're just going to give you like $1,000 in UBI every month. And this is the plan. And this is how people have been conditioned to accept this. And to a certain extent, a lot of people want this. I mean, a lot of people are super lazy in the United States, don't want to work, don't want to do anything. They just want to sit on their butts and they want free stuff. And that's why America's collapsing. Again, you have an entire generation of baby boomers that were running cheap credit for years. Not your fault or anything like that. You guys are some of the hardest workers, made America. I love all you baby boomers. My dad's a baby boomer. But the point is, that's what led us here. Okay, now they're going to reset the system and change all the rules of that paradigm. The 9-to-5 jobs, getting the gold Rolex after you've worked 40 years, a steady retirement, all that's gone. There's a technological Luddite fashion shift into technology, artificial intelligence, robots, AI, and basically replacing human beings in every aspect of the economy. And this is why they've got to come out with UBI and all this kind of stuff, because there's not any jobs for people anymore. And so they're selling you this fiction that, oh, you can work from home. But notice, instead of doing that, there's just been massive layoffs. All of Fortune 100 has been selling stock over the last 12 months at the top. Every single last one of them. Google, Microsoft, Tesla, all those companies have been selling their stock that they repurchased at 0%, borrowing from the central bank. Now, they've pocketed that stuff already. Okay, now they're going to dump a little bit, fake hike, and then pump it all over again. Just trust this plan, guys. Like, it's comical. It's hilarious. It's actually really, really easy to profit from this because we know how chaotic and we know how predictable all of this is. You know, when you see a Ponzi scheme for what it is, you know how to play it. And that's exactly what the American economy is, in my opinion. So wholesale prices aren't falling. House prices aren't falling. Okay, this is a temporary pause before a new pump. What else do we have in the news today? So the big one is the Ethereum merger, which I'm super, super bullish on. So let me read some of that to you here in a minute. Let's see if I got my phone with enough battery, this other one here, so we can talk about this. But again, this is going to stoke the fire of a massive new secular bull market across the blockchain space. Every talking head, Fast Money, CNBC, even Jim Cramer is going to start piling into this because, again, they care about the planet. No, they don't. It's all about money. Okay, it's all about creating as much wealth as they possibly can, extracting that out of the system. All the rats leave the nest, internationalize themselves, and then they're going to leave the American people with the hot potato, just like they always do. So it says here, ahead of a years of the making upgrade to the Ethereum blockchain, the token Ether has been outperforming Bitcoin in 2022 by a wide margin. The so-called merge will result in much more energy-efficient transactions. Now, by the way, short term, Ethereum could actually flip in Bitcoin, which would mean Ethereum would take over the dominant market cap position to Bitcoin. I actually do think that is possible as a result of this because Ethereum is becoming like Wall Street's darling. You'll probably even hear like Biden talk about it or his administration talk about it because, again, It's all about moving to sustainables to power those Tesla batteries that use dirty coal and carbon to charge them. Right? So that's what they're going to do. So this is where I think the upside momentum is in the coming weeks. The years in the making system-wide upgrade to the Ethereum blockchain is set to roll out today on Wednesday, marking one of the crypto sector's most historic events to date. Leading up to the overhaul, investors have been jumping into Ether. It's up like 32% in the past 3 months, which I think is funny too. People are like, well, crypto's down. No, it's not. Ethereum's up 32% over the last couple of months. That's a high-level outperformance of all other asset classes in the world. See, what people don't understand is Bitcoin will go up. If Ether will go up 10,000x and then go down 80%, people are like, it collapsed. No, it didn't. It's still up 10,000x. And so you've got to buy these dippy dips, ladies and gentlemen. So I see the momentum shifting, and I think that this is kind of going to be what happens as we approach the end of the year. Also, keep in mind, they got to manipulate things too, stabilize the markets because of the midterms. So they got to make people kind of feel all gushy and happy because it's, again, all manipulated. So as we enter the midterms, they're going to probably stabilize the markets, pump them a little bit. Everybody's feeling good about themselves. And then they're going to basically argue all these social issues and not address the real elephant in the room, which is a systematic, organized, economic, financial, social, spiritual collapse of the westernized world. And they're going to focus it on stories like abortion and stuff. And the only reason they're focusing it on that and Roe versus Wade, and the only reason the Supreme Court actually introduced that, because I believe the Supreme Court is compromised. And I believe in life, by the way, just my personal opinion on things as a Christian and somebody who actually values human life. Personally, I think it's wrong to end a baby's life, in my opinion. And but the only reason they've introduced that is they want to basically take away those bodily protections for the other stuff they want to do. The whole goal here, okay, is the state wants massive control over every aspect of your life. Just like they could tell you you were non-essential over the last couple of years and to close your business while they gave Walmart more money. That's just how it rolls in the United States. These are oligarchical powers of bailouts, infinite money printing, hyperinflation, and manipulation at the central bank. Ron Paul should have been president of the United States. I've met him many times, interviewed him many times. He's a great guy, but the reason he's not is because he's not corrupted. He would have audited the Fed. He would have ended the central bank and the Federal Reserve. He would have restored America, given us liberty, okay, and he would have proactively gotten us out of debt, which would have been painful. But see, those in charge now don't want to do that. This is why Nancy Pelosi and her husband, career politicians, are super rich. They're trading on the inside, just like most of Washington did, even before the shutdowns 2 or 3 years ago. They're all on the inside. They're playing an unfair, rigged game for themselves while the American people get screwed. I just tell you the truth of how things really, really roll and then make all you guys rich through my projects like Island Project, Bitcoin, my academies, everything I've been doing over the last 10 years. I mean, I remember when I started social media 15 years ago, people said you couldn't do that. Now it's the most popular thing in the world. Everybody's online. Everyone does social media. And if you don't, you basically can't make money, don't have a job. I mean, the same thing is happening with blockchain. If you're not on the blockchain train, you're going to get left behind. In 5-10 years from now, there's going to be no other options. You're going to be using blockchain technology on your phone, whether or not you like it or not. This is just the general direction of where things are headed in the world today. So that is huge, huge news. Maybe I'll go to some questions because I don't have too many reports today, but I'm feeling very, very bullish. The Ethereum merger is very, very bullish. All boats will rise, and then just expect them to do the sell job on it. It's all about the environment. No, it's not. It's about padding their pockets on Wall Street as usual. As usual. So get on that wave. Ride that wave with me. Profit from it. Understand this truth. I think in the next few weeks, Ethereum, this is a good buying point right now, in my opinion, not financial advice. You're going to see this thing trend a lot higher, and you're going to see the rest of the market trend a lot higher. As a result of that, I would expect a lot of ERC20 tokens to trend a lot higher as well on the Ethereum network and chain. So these are actually like good improvements. I think these are materially good improvements. The only downside would be is if the merge has any mishaps along the way. That would be the risk of this, okay, to take into account. Is there a mishap? Does something happen with the merge or like a problem along the way that prevents it from successfully completing? Which probably is not going to happen. I mean, they've had a lot of time to work on this. And Vitalik's a very smart guy. And of course, he's funded by the state. I mean, these guys are all funded by the same people that started PayPal and all these other companies and created all the internet infrastructure today. Again, the internet was created by DARPA, guys, back in the day. And then it was basically open source during the Cold War as a method of communication in a grid down scenario. So blockchain crypto ain't too much different. There's just good and truth, you know, good, there's dark and light, and it's how you use the technology. Just like the internet can be used for good, or it could be used for evil. Same thing within blockchain today. But you just have to understand these higher truths. So when people say to me, well, Christopher, it doesn't seem like they're going to allow Bitcoin and Ethereum. What are you talking about? That's the new system that they want. That's what they've greenlit. Just like people didn't understand social media years and years ago. Let me go to some questions here because I don't have a lot more to say today. Someone says, buy XRP, be your own bank. Absolutely. You need to get into real assets. You need to prepare for capital controls like Ray Dalio's warning. Expect problems within the banking system itself. Expect more of a debt jubilee. Biden and any other president for that matter is going to continue to cancel debt because it can never be paid back. And that's not to help the American people. It's to help the banks. If the banks know that they can't get paid, they'll come out and say, hey, we're going to forgive student debt. No, that's not helping students. That's helping the bank that ain't going to get paid by that student that doesn't have a job. That's all it is. And then the people that are going to pay for it are you, me, and everyone else in America that's productive, that's paid their loans. Thankfully, I never had any loans. I was privileged in that way growing up. But a lot of people do. You're the ones being screwed, right? So you do the right thing, work 3 jobs overnight, pay your debt off. Now you're going to pay for all these people that never paid their loans off. That's just how it works. That's how America rolls. It's one big bailout for the banks. Has nothing to do with the American middle class, and you're going to pay for it. This is why over half of all taxation for Americans goes towards taxes, and they spend more on that. They work 6-7 months out of the year to pay a system that wasn't even working over the last 3 years. And a report came out in aggregate, they pay more for healthcare and housing, energy costs, food, and clothing. They'll pay more in tax than they do for those things, the critical things that they need to survive. What else? Let me go to some questions here. It's not a huge news day, but I did just want to update you with that. Let me go here, look at a couple other reports, see if I'm missing anything. But again, Federal Reserve is bluffing. It's an absolute bluff. Buy the dip. Buy the dip, expect a hyper pump. Of course, they're going to pump for all their crony friends on Wall Street. That's what they always do. You should profit from this as well. Profit from the hyperinflation. If you've owned real assets over the last few years, you've tripled your money. Because again, it's all about hyper pumping. They've created the dislocation. They're creating the disruption. They're creating the problems. They're creating the wealth transfer. This is what these people are doing. It's all by design, and it's all super intentional. So stocks are a little bit stabilizing. And the reason the central bank won't raise much further after this 100 basis point hike is they can't. It would affect the housing market if they kept doing that. And it would affect their own backs. Again, Wall Street owns the securitized debt of middle America. They can't let that collapse. Okay, otherwise it would need another bailout. It's very, very easy to understand. So we have the rest of the world. Basically, I'm getting a bunch of texts right now. Here, okay, this is pretty interesting. We're seeing Vladimir Putin and the East really cozy up to Saudi Arabia as well. So Saudi Arabia and the Middle East is now partnering with China. Everybody's leaving the United States. The United States is the weakest country politically, domestically, socially, I would argue, in the world today. I mean, it's really bad. It's really bad. Just like Tucker Carlson says. I mean, this is like the MyPillow guy is being raided when he's going through a Hardee's. It can't get any worse than it currently is. But we're also seeing the rest of the smart nation states move to China and Russia because they know who's in charge now. It's not the USA. You can see this article here. You've got King Salman or whatnot speaking with Vladimir Putin. So again, the Pope, Xi out of China, Putin, Saudi Arabia, all the big power structures, building these new super state cities like Dubai, places like Singapore. These are the new powerhouses of the world. It's not the West. And it pains me to say that, but we are a declining nation state as a result of the central bank printing all of this debt, creating these massive disruptions, all the bailouts, all the currency printing, all the manipulation throughout the years. And that's why the American people are going to suffer now. These are the reasons. And I know you guys know this. I mean, I've been saying this for years. I mean, people thought I was crazy when I told you that they were going to shut down the entire world in January of 2020. I told you guys all that was going to happen. And then my whole platform blew up because I was right about it. Well, now I'm telling you what's going to happen next. This is the planned economic financial reset now. So you need to get into real assets, out of the banks, get out of fiat, and get into things that are real, like Island Project, like our club, homes, get into gold, silver, anything for that matter. Beanie Babies are better than US dollars. You get paid 0% at a bank. There's negative real growth in the United States of America. What else, ladies and gentlemen? I don't really think I have a whole lot else to report today, but that's just my quick update video today. They're going to get more expensive. Someone says homes are expensive. Yeah, that's the plan. You will own nothing and be happy. That is the plan. What do you think? They want you to own a house? Of course they don't. They want to price out the average American from everything so that they can give you the solution to what they've got coming, universal basic income. The whole goal is that you rent from Wall Street. You rent from the hedge funds. Everything you touch will be a rental, even the cars you drive in the future. You'll be paying fractional payments of the car you drive throughout the city. You're not even going to be allowed to drive a gasoline car because it would be too polluted, they'll say. And they're going to say AI is safer than you manually driving. They can't have you drive and make those decisions. So again, that's the point. They want to price you out of everything. That's the whole point of everything they've been doing over the last couple of years, creating inflation. They want to price the American people out of everything. This is a silent tax to eradicate the middle class, to reset the whole system, and blame it on something that they say is outside of their control when that's not true at all. They control all of it. I mean, these are the people in power. This is like the captain of the Titanic not getting the blame for crushing it into an iceberg. It's his fault. It's the people actually in charge. It's their fault. Mimi, can I recommend a financial planner? Well, I'm not a financial planner, but I can give you my opinion on things. You should join us at Island Project Club. Schedule a 15-minute call with me, and you can ask me anything that you want. Links down here or up here. You should do that. So yeah, it is pure insanity. So hopefully I'm not ranting too much today. I feel like I'm just like repeating myself a little bit. Maybe I'm a little tired today. I don't know. But like it gets exhausting. Like it's so exhausting seeing the manipulation at such a high level, seeing how obvious it is, seeing how fake the central bank Federal Reserve System is, how they're not raising interest rates at all. We're still well below 4%, even after a 100 basis point hike. Then they're going to stop, and if anything, they're going to cut. They're going to start cutting again and probably come out with more bailouts, just like Elon Musk says. He's recommending a negative, 50 basis point cut. Well, that's actually probably what they need to do. They can't raise rates into a Ponzi scheme. This is like raising rates into an economic collapse. Like, there's nothing they can do. There's no growth. Geopolitical instability, war, hyperinflation. What, they're going to raise rates and send everyone into an economic 30-year depression? No, that's not what they're going to do. It's not in their self-interest to do that. It's in their self-interest to make themselves richer, transfer the remaining wealth to themselves, then break the rules, reset the system into the new one, and then give you the new system and force you to use it, which is what they're going to do. And that'll be through capital controls and the new technology that they're going to introduce very, very soon. It's very easy to understand. Like, this isn't rocket science, guys. So, yes, it is very, very heavy. You're going to see a pump. It's coming. You should be buying now. Again, where else are you going to put your money? A bank? Earn negative interest rates? You got to put it somewhere else. You buy silver, buy gold. So, anyways, I mean, have fun with it a little bit, too. Understand how easy this is in a lot of respects. Like, there's only one thing we can count on. More money printing, more debt, more bailouts, and more inflation moving forward. When has the market ever not inflated? There's always short-term drawdowns, and then they hyper-pump again. 1929, massive pump. 2008-09, massive pump. 2020, massive pump. So the reset is going to be largely in 2023. That's probably when the CBDC currencies are unloaded. And it'll happen at maximum pain as people are suffering the most and they can't afford anything. And then the politicians are gonna say, well, this is why UBI is important for all Americans. Tax the rich. Well, it actually has nothing to do with the rich. It has everything to do with our politicians and the central banks. They're the problem. So just understand who the problem is. See, if I was in charge, I would have been raising rates years ago, and I would have kept the economy open, because that's called capitalism and human rights. I would have done the exact opposite. I never would have bailed out the banks in 2008-09. I would have sunk them into bankruptcy and allowed them to suffer, is what I would have done, because I'm a real capitalist. And then I would have rewarded the small and medium-sized banks that had prudent balance sheets and allowed them to grow. The reverse happened. The central bank bailed out the too big to fails and let the good ones go under. So I would have done the opposite. See, I believe in freedom, human rights, choice. I believe in differing opinions, people to be able to speak their mind. I'm a real American. I'm someone who actually gives a crap about freedom. But a lot of the people in charge now don't. They just don't. And again, the reason is they've got to be able to control society through the media, through technology, through talking heads, through the central bank. It's all about systematic control of the target population and the creation of a feudal society in the United States of America. They can't have the Wild West anymore, okay, where you could just grab plots of land, run your businesses, and form, a community with like minds. They don't want that. That's why they told you to stay in your house, don't go to church, and don't communicate and be afraid of everybody over the last couple of years. That's what they said. I never said that. That's what they told you to do. People are still living in massive amounts of fear right now. It's crazy. I look around me, I just see a bunch of zombies walking around. Just absolute living in fear and hysteria. It's crazy. It's so funny, actually. It's like amazing that people can be brainwashed at this high level. Anyways, guys, I love you. I love you. Both Jubilee and bail-in. Anyways, that's all I have for today. 36 minutes in. I'll do some more updates. And yeah, that's the big idea today is this little quick live stream that I'm doing is just pump into the Ethereum merge. Federal Reserve is bluffing as usual. Expect more manipulation and off to the races. Profit from it. Profit from what we know they're going to do. Pump their own backs. Never bet against Goldman Sachs. Never bet against the central bank. That's all you need to know. Anyways, guys, I love you. God bless. Links up here and down here. Talk to all of you very, very soon.